Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And thank you for tuning in to catch my drift here at Wham Talk 1600. You can catch podcasts of the show Saturday and Sunday evenings at rednationrising.us. So check it out. If you missed the show here, you can catch it on podcast. rednationrising.us, a great little place for some conservative news and commentary. All right, so let's take care of a little business. Brighton Ford. If you're in the market for a new or used car, and it doesn't have to be a Ford, they got a great selection of used cars out there. Head up to Brighton Ford. You can go to their website, brightonford.com, or call 1-800-494-2175. And if you need any service work, you can go to thecurrentonline.com and download the back page of The Current, the August edition. And they've got tire rotations for $16.95, the Works Fuel Saver Package for $29.95, 10% off all parts, pothole specials, vehicle owner programs. You name it, get it done at Brighton Ford. Again, that's brightonford.com, 800-494-2175. I think I've bought 4 or 5 cars. I think I'm on my 5th car out of Brighton Ford right now. So great place to get your service work done and buy a used or new vehicle. So there you go. All right, so what we do on The Drift every weekend is go over the news that we've put on the Daily Drift. And if you're not going to the Daily Drift, you should be. It's www.thedailydrift.com, and it's the news you need to know. So make sure you're doing that. And if you want to advertise in the Current newspaper, I haven't advertised this in a while, but get into the Current newspaper. We've grown 500% over the last 11 years, and it's a great place to grow your business. Currentonline.com, that's COURANTonline.com. You can call me, 734-629-6010, and I can get you into the paper. Great place to be. And we've got a special guest calling in today, 7th District U.S. Congressman Tim Walberg. Tim, welcome to the show.
Gary, it's good to be with you.
You too. Glad to hear from you.
Well, you know, it's good to hear from a lot of people at various times, but in this case, I'll take that as a compliment and an opportunity to talk through issues.
There's not many people I like in Washington, Tim, so you're one of them. You know, it's always good. I got 2 good things that I wanted to deal with you. Is there anything before we get into that and get wrapped up? Is there something you wanted to bring to our attention?
No, I guess it's your time with concerns that you have and your listeners have. You've been talking with them. They've been talking to you. They've expressed concerns. So I guess I'd rather talk about that. We certainly can talk about some of the things relative to Iran and the hostage payments.
You're reading my mind. It's like you're looking at my agenda right here. But first, I want to start with some Syrian refugees, and I ran across something I put on the Daily Drift. Derek, do you have track 1 ready? I want you to listen to this, Tim, and then tell me how it's going from what on your end, what you've seen in Washington. Listen to this.
Despite promises of European Union member states to take in 160,000 refugees, a new report shows that they've accepted a fraction, 6,000, while the United States has embraced 8,000 of a planned 10,000 this year. As President Obama, backed by Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, has ramped up accepting refugees fleeing Syria and other war-torn nations, the EU has put the brakes on hard, apparently bowing to public outrage.
All right, so Tim, I know they were kind of putting the screws to you guys in Congress to fund this. You know, what's the state of this? And I think when she said 8,000, I thought I had seen an article the other day that said Obama had already reached his 10,000. He had already surpassed that many coming into the country. You know, with vetting is still not where it needs to be. Has Congress made any attempt to curtail the budgeting for this, or can you?
Yeah, we have, and we passed it in the House, a hold on bringing in any further Syrian refugees until such time as the director of the FBI, the director of Homeland Security, and the CIA would come up with a plan that they would approve and then present to Congress for our approval. That passed the House and has died so far in the Senate. So a number of these refugees that have come through are people that were in the pipeline even before all of this, opposition started. But other than that, we have not been successful in getting the Senate to approve what we sent to them and then sent to the White House. So it's going on according to Hoyle, the President's Hoyle, with resources that he has. And frankly, when we asked Comey, who I have a bit of a problem with now, I used to respect him highly, but after what he did with Hillary Clinton, I'm not quite as positive anymore. But back then, when we asked him point blank, do we have the vetting capabilities in a time when we literally do not know who would come from Syria and what they would say, would it be true or not? Do we have vetting capabilities? He said absolutely not. And I think that's a situation we're in still right now, which caused me great concern, is to see the genocide going on, mass genocide over Christians and non-Muslims in Syria. Yet we are not willing to push back and say, for the time being, until we get this under control, we're going to have to deal with it in a more appropriate way, and that's not bring them in.
Yeah, it seems like every other week I'm getting something for the Daily Drift that shows, out of the 8,000 refugees we've taken in from Syria, like 25 of them are Christians and the rest are all Muslims. It's the Christians that are in danger. If we're really doing this to help people who are in danger, why such a skewed? I mean, shouldn't it at least be a 50-50 mix? If you want to be PC and everything else, make it a 50-50 mix. But it seems like the people that are in the most danger, the Christians, the people being set on fire, being decapitated, being murdered, are the Christians. And yet only 25 out of 8,000 that they've brought in so far are Christian.
Yeah, and of course the genocide that's taken place, there are a lot less Christians there now. But this administration is not going and seeking advice, consent, and counsel from Christian leaders, Catholics, Protestant groups that are there and are willing to give counsel on who needs to be cared for and brought in. And that's one of the main reasons. It just seems like this administration has turned a deaf ear toward the cries of those that are non-Muslims and are being brutally slaughtered in horrific ways. It actually is a genocide. It's a Holocaust that's going on. And we will see a birthplace of Christianity in much of that region of the world. We will see it just blotted out. It's a sad state of affairs, with lines in the sand that this president has put and let evaporate. And there seems to be no interest in moving forward to do something aggressive.
Yeah. Well, I guess if there's a bright spot to this particular story, at least Europe is finally seeing the light, maybe. I mean, if they can see the light as crazy as they are, maybe eventually we'll see the light here, too. Maybe a new change in administration will help that along. But it's amazing. It always comes down to the same thing, though, Tim. Every time we have you on, you guys are doing work in the House. The House is passing, I don't know, 400 or 500 bills that seem to stall. That's stalling in the Senate.
40 come from the Senate.
Oh, and it doesn't matter whether it was Nancy Pelosi or Harry Reid in charge or whether it's now Mitch McConnell in charge. It's still not getting done. Is it because we need more Republicans in the Senate? Is that what's keeping this from happening?
Well, we would need 6 more conservatives at least, because it takes 60 votes to get a bill up under the Senate rules, a bill up for debate. So Harry Reid, even though he's a minority leader for the last 2 years, still has the capability of holding those 6 votes from the Democrat side and not allowing cloture to take place. That ends a quasi-filibuster, a virtual filibuster, and allows debate. That's our challenge. And frankly, that's not the way the system is supposed to work. The Senate does have the ability to filibuster. They are supposed to be a deliberate body, and they're supposed to be able to take the hot coffee that's sloshed into the saucer from the cup and cool it down a bit and, if necessary, make it better. But it's not supposed to be a place where it simply stops so that the president doesn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's one thing, Gary, I can tell you that Donald Trump gets, because Paul Ryan has communicated with him very clearly that we want to work together as a team. We want you to be president, but you need to understand, if you do executive orders that step outside of your boundaries and Article 2 powers in the Constitution and take the Article 1 powers in your hands that only we have as we represent the people, we will join the Democrats to stop you, unlike what's gone on with this president where the Democrats have just stonewalled. And that will be good for the constitutional work. But I think Donald Trump has very clearly indicated to us he understands it, he gets it. And that's why on several occasions when we met with him, he said, that's where I go to Paul, or that's where I seek counsel from the Speaker. That's where we work together on trying to solve this problem. And if that's the case, our constitutional democracy will then work again. Yeah. But if it continues on like this with this administration that simply says, I have a pen and a phone, and I'll do anything I want, even if it's not in my powers under the Constitution, that's a sure way to break down the freedom, the opportunity, and the success that this country offers.
Yeah, it's the one thing I will say, and this is my belief. I could be completely wrong, but my belief is that Trump has an ability, because I think, if there's something being held up, I think whether it's a Democrat or Republican, he's going to use social media. He's going to go right to the people. He'll probably end up hanging out in the state of the representative or senator who's not doing their job and bully them through social media to get people fired up and start calling the office. I'm hoping that's what he's done. He's done it so well so far that I think if he were to become president and, find a Debbie Stabenow or a Gary Peters who, I can't believe there's not 6 senators in the Senate with enough common sense to say, listen, we should probably hold off on immigration because, number one, we've got, especially here in Michigan, a lot of people who still are not working. I mean, in Detroit, we've got some huge unemployment rates, and yet we're still bringing in refugees from other countries who will work cheaper than our poor people in the inner city. So I don't understand why you can't get a Debbie Stabenow or Gary Peters to say, all right, I'll work with you, Tim, on this one, because you know what? It really makes sense. It's like that EMP we talked about the last time. Give us the funding to protect the American people with safeguarding the grid,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, just for a practical example, the Zika bill has been held up in the Senate. They say that they're going to get it up in September, but we have Miami and other parts of Florida basically being closed down and tourists getting fearful to go there because of the Zika mosquitoes. And the House passed $1.1 billion of funding for Zika, as well as lifting some disabilities in spraying capabilities. And we sent it to the Senate before we left in July, end of July, to come home for the August in-district period. And they just filibustered it and kept it from coming up. That's the type of the stuff that goes on that just defies description on why people who have been elected by their states to represent the individuals of their states can't do things without being totally political. And we have several other great bills that we work through in a bipartisan fashion in the House with Democrats and Republicans working together to get those things passed. And Harry Reid keeps his 6 votes, and we can't get them up for debate, and people are dying potentially now because of Zika and other things.
And that's because the Democrats are trying to protect Planned Parenthood funding, right, with the Zika?
Yeah, they want to add amendments to a number of bills, mental health bill, Zika bill, that have nothing to do with the issue we're trying to fix. But they're trying to jack it around and hold it hostage until we give in. And frankly, the American public is telling us don't give in. And so that's again why we sent it to the Senate. We went home.
Yeah.
And the president could stand up now rather than golfing and being on vacation. He could say, we got a problem in Louisiana. We also got a problem in Florida. We have 2 cases now that are recorded in Michigan, including one in Monroe, my district. Yeah. It was a traveler issue, but nonetheless, Zika is impacting American citizens and will impact American babies unnecessarily so, simply because this president and the Senate Democrats are whistling while the nation is burning.
Yeah, I wish, this is the one thing I wish, if you see Paul Ryan, tell him we need to see him more on the news, because I'd love to see him sit there on Fox or MSNBC or CNN and say, listen, the House is done.